We've made it to our last phylum, which demonstrates the last leap forward for plants, which is the evolution of flowers and fruits. The angiosperms, or the covered seed plants, consist of one phylum, which is called Magnoliophyta, or you may have learned it as Anthophyta in the lab. But Magnoliophyta is a newer term and is more widely accepted than Anthophyta. So angiosperms are also called flowering plants. The fact that they're flowering plants means that they're also fruiting plants. All flowering plants produce fruits. All fruiting plants are derived from flowers. And it is the most successful lineage of plants ever to have been on Earth. And we mean this because the number of species of flowering plants that are present is on the order of 250,000, which, as far as we can tell, is much, much more diverse than any other lineage of plants that we have seen in the fossil record. How much more so? Well, we can compare with current estimates of numbers of species in all of our other phyla that we've looked at. And you can see that the Anthophyta is far and away more diverse than any other phylum by a factor of at least 10 times, 20 times even, close to 20 times. So the Bryophyta is the second most speciose phylum. The Pteridophyta is third, but they're nowhere even near to what we see in the flowering plants. So a flower can be defined as a determinate sporophyll-bearing shoot. And what that means is it is a shoot that doesn't grow or extend in length once it is formed in the bud. That's what we mean by determinate. And sporophylls are the modified leaves that produce the spores. And the spores, in this case, we've got heterospore, because these are seed plants. The megaspore and the microspore are produced within this sporophyll-bearing shoot that is a flower. It is subtended by a peduncle. That's the name of the stem that attaches a flower to a plant. And then all of the whorls of the plant are attached via a structure called the receptacle. Let's take a look at a picture. So here's a picture that you may have been looking at since you were in middle school or even earlier, depending on what kind of a science curriculum you had before college. You can see here's the peduncle, not labeled, attached to the receptacle. And the receptacle is holding what we consider to be 4 different whorls together in this determinate sporophyll-bearing shoot. We've got sepals, which are usually green, petals, which are usually pigmented, colored in some way. We've got stamens consisting of anthers and filaments, and then you've got a carpel, or if you have multiple carpels fused together, you might have a pistil comprised of a stigma, where pollen is received, the style, which pollen will grow through in order to get down into the ovary to fertilize the ovules. So we've got 4 whorls. The whorl of sepals, which is called the calyx. The whorl of petals, which is called the corolla. The whorl of the male parts, called the andrecium, which includes all of the stamens. And the whorl of the female parts, which includes all the carpels or pistils, called the gynecium. So calyx, corolla. Collectively, the calyx and the corolla are referred to the perianth. That means around the flower. They are around the fertile whorls, which are the andrecium and the gynecium. So the perianth sometimes refers to the sterile whorls, and then the andrecium and the gynecium are the fertile whorls. And in the ancestral flower, all four whorls were present, and we see variations on this throughout the Anthophyta. So we can describe flowers as being perfect or being complete, and these mean different things. So a perfect flower has male and female whorls in every flower. A complete flower has all four whorls in every flower. So a plant that produces separate male and female flowers is considered to be imperfect, and a flower that has lost a whorl is considered to be incomplete. So typically, the whorl that is lost is the petals to make an incomplete flower. So a flower can be perfect but incomplete, but it can't be complete and imperfect. Another way we can describe flowering plants is whether they produce male and female whorls on the same plant, in which case we would say they're monoecious, or if they are separate male and female plants, just like you and I are separate male and female individuals. Plants sometimes do the same thing, where they will have dioecious dioece occurring, so you have a separate male plant and a female plant. Another thing we observe that enables us to look at differences in different types of flowers is whether there is fusion within a whorl, which we call connation, or fusion between different whorls that we call adnation. So this is a picture of a flower of a plant called Darwin's cotton. And you can see here is the style and the stigma of the gynecium. And there's all these yellow things in here, which are stamens. And those stamens are actually fused to the gynecium. So the andrecium and the gynecium are fused together. So this is a case of adnation, fusion between two different whorls. This is the rare case. But if you've ever gone swimming and you've seen someone wearing a swimsuit, they often will have a hibiscus flower, which is very much like this Darwin's cotton flower, that has this adnation between the andrecium and the gynecium. This is a morning glory flower, and you can see that here are the sepals, and you can see the petals are all fused together to form this tube. And you may wonder, well, how many petals does this thing have? It actually has 5, which you could kind of tell if you look at these lines here, which suggest that these petals are actually fused together. And if you look at it from the top, a morning glory flower looks kind of like a star, a 5-pointed star or a pentagram, because of this fusion of the 5 petals into a corolla tube. Another way that we can look at evolutionary history within the flowering plants is to look at the inflorescences, or the arrangement of flowers on a branch or a stem. And there is order here. A flowering plant species tends to produce its flowers, the arrangement of the flowers on the branch, is only in a finite number of patterns. And within each species, they only will exhibit one pattern, typically. So you may just have a single flower on a branch, in which case we'd say it's solitary. You may see all of the flowers attached directly to a floral axis. That's what we see here in this spike. They don't have any peduncle. They're all attached to this axis here. Or you might see that the peduncles are attached to a floral axis, in which case we've got a raceme. In this particular raceme, you can see these flowers are the oldest, and these flowers are the newest. These haven't even emerged yet. A panicle is if a raceme were even further branched. You can see we've got a floral axis here, and then there's a peduncle, and then the peduncle has separate pedicels or smaller peduncles attached to it. An umbel is an inflorescence where you have a single focal point and several flowers emerging that have equal length pedicels underneath them. So it kind of makes it look like an umbrella. It's a good way to remember that an umbel is like an umbrella. Compound umbel, you can see we've got an umbel of umbels. So this here is one umbel, here's another umbel, here's a third umbel, and those three umbels are attached by peduncles of more or less equal length. So that's a compound umbel. I'm not going to talk about the corymb, but a head or a capitulum, it looks like a single flower, but actually what it is many florets or small flowers that are all grouped together to look like one big flower. So here